Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Index podcast, where the three of us come together every couple of weeks to discuss on-chain data, chart crimes, and metrics that move the crypto industry. Today, it's just the three of us. After a long time with just guest episodes, we thought we would just yap a bit about the current happenings in the industry, and of course, I have with me Hildobby, resident data house elf at Dragonfly,
Hello, everyone.
and Danning, on-chain corgi at Flashbots.
Hi.
And I am, of course, Boxer, Community Powers at Dune. Before we start, nothing we say here should be relied upon as legal, financial, investment, tax, or even life advice, and we are acting independently of our respective professional worlds. Good to have both of you here to kind of discuss the last 2 weeks in crypto. I think the things were very hectic. Trump got inaugurated. Now there's like a bunch of stuff that happened. And I think on that topic, we can already kind of jump in. Like there's now a meme coin from the United States, from the president of the United States of America. And I think if you kind of divide this away of like Trump launched the meme coin, if you just kind of like put this into the framing of like, yeah, sure, the president of the United States of America has launched a meme coin. I think it's like I don't know, it feels way more impactful. If you like kind of write this in a history book in that manner, it like feels a lot more weird. Like if I just think like the German president has launched a meme coin, if that's like a headline, like nobody would fucking believe me. So I don't know. It seems like weird times we're living in. What's your guys' kind of first take on this whole drama?
Like I can't imagine any president do that, but Trump makes sense. And like, I think the only other president I think that can be possible would be Milei, who is the president in Argentina, who is also like a controversial and weird guy, but somehow kind of works. Like seems like the economy there has been a little bit stable. But yeah, it was an insane weekend. I have a first-hand story of trading on Trump coin, but Dobby, were you participating too?
I didn't actually trade the token at all, but I think it's like I don't think anyone foresaw necessarily Trump launching a meme coin, or I didn't. I guess it was in the realm of possibilities, but I didn't really see it as a reasonable thing. But it happened, and we're going from like a U.S. Kind of a state in the US where crypto is not well accepted, and we're going into some extreme other end maybe right now. I don't know. It feels super weird, and I guess people at first were like, "Oh, he's gonna really, dedicate his life to like this token," and then like a few hours later, Melania Melania launched one, and they're like, "Oh, like wait, actually." Fuck this. Let's like drop the price by like 60%. So yeah, interesting times for sure.
Yeah, I feel also like my first reaction was definitely like hype when I saw the Slack messages I missed out, and I go to their website and I saw they're like working with Moonshot, which as I've met them, they're like pretty young team. There's a bunch of like very young people. I think they're my over 21-year-old, but it's a bunch of young people who trade meme coin and like it's partnering with the like president. That's insane. Like imagine any crypto team, the BD guy done the job to get the deal with president. That's insane, right? And like seems like all the preparation was done behind with all the Solana team, including I believe Solana team would know it, and Phantom team probably was involved, and Jito, and I guess like Jupiter Aggregator, and also Material is the AMN project that was launching this coin. So I mean, it's a massive success for them, and it's like shout out for them. But also, it was just like unbelievable. But also, like Trump tweeted first on Truth Social, and then 2 hours later he tweeted on X. So it seems like he's trying to benefit his followers first, and it's kind of confirming that it's not just the account hacked on X. So it was okay. It's real. So I definitely aped in. But I mean, also, I watched some discussion like last week after the whole thing. It feels definitely weird. Like if you zoom out of the macro timeline, he would have done it when he was running for campaign, and like this is the perfect way to raise money. and to run a campaign. But like he already win the election. It's about to happen like 2 days before the inauguration. He launched the coin. Like why? And also there was no mention at the inauguration. I want to say like it makes me feel like the whole situation is like all the crypto people were so hyped for like 3 days at the weekend before inauguration, and then afterwards like okay, no mention of crypto at all. Even I don't think he even mentioned Bitcoin. It just feel like you're the side bitch got played again. Like we're good, and like I really like you and stuff, and like they go on public and no mentions. Like, tough man.
That is hilarious. A couple things here. Is there like any special involvement by the Moonshot team, or are they just one of many partners? Did they help launch this token? Like, I'm actually unfamiliar with that.
I believe they're like the exclusive partner for onboarding. So like if you go to the Trump websites, like get trumpmemes.com, it says you can buy it here, and it's like Moonshot. Absolutely.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, I think they supported it from the get-go and got listed ASAP. Yeah, but I mean, you can't ban others from listing your token, but I guess it was more of a process if you're not prepared.
No, but if you were basically down the funnel of like the official website,
Yeah.
like that's super good. Okay, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah. The second thing on all of these partner teams is like, man, if there wasn't any insider trading on that, this seems like a very weird like dynamic where it's like, okay, sure, like I don't know, the Meteora team knew, the Phantom team knew, the Jupiter team knew. And it's like these guys are all in the trenches. You can't tell me they so like what happened there? Like what do we think about this? I mean, fair enough. Just like this is kind of a moral hazard, and like I would hope that they have internal kind of policies in place to prevent this kind of stuff. I would not think so, or like I don't know. It seems very hard to like keep the talent that you have if you forbid them from trading. Like you can't do that.
On the point of that, I think like insider trading on a token launch, it really means like sniping right after the launch, right? Because like there's probably like price target when you launch. I think it was like 0.04.
No, that wouldn't be insider trading. Insider would be prior to like with just info others don't have. But like you could like I guess there's a fine line where you could be insider trading by being like, okay, I know exactly when he's gonna publish the tweet, and
Right.
like at the exact second you don't need to bot it. Now you can you can bot the exact second, I guess, knowing ahead of time. Yeah, but like that sniping with insider info is different to like scraping Twitter API and being like, okay, what's the CA on this token and instantly buying it with another bot.
Yeah, it's different from like this a project gonna announce they had a fundraise round and you're gonna sell right before the news, right?
It's funny also the thing you mentioned, Boxer, about how you can't participate in something you're involved in, and that was one of the requirements I think for the SEC and why they've been so not great with understanding crypto is like you can't trade any crypto, and almost everyone who is involved in the trenches is actually active in some way on chain, especially I think an analyst you need to understand how things work, and that's the best way is to actually use them yourself.
You're saying nobody who works at the SEC can actually own crypto?
I believe yes.
Okay, yeah, that's maybe they can now get the Bitcoin ETF or whatever, but no, probably not. Yeah, okay, that's wild. But yeah, on the insider trading, I think it's like completely enough if you just know Trump is going to launch a coin on Friday. You just sit in front of your computer 24/7, wait for the Truth Social thing to hit, and then you just buy in. Like the thing is going to full send, like no matter what. And I think just like having the information is asymmetry between people who are like outside of the circle of insiders of like, is this a scam? Oh, what even is this? Like, is this verified? Like lots of people are just offline. Like it's fucking Friday afternoon. Like as a European, you're like, okay, this was like 3 a.m. like Saturday night. And it's like nobody fucking is gonna be online. So like just having the information versus not having the information in this case, because it was like, I mean, I guess they could have launched it at like a 30 billion market cap and it would have been down only. But like, given they launched it, I don't even know how they set the initial liquidity parameters or whatever. But I think like 500 million, maybe 300 million. If you look, like we could we could go to deck screen and pull up the chart of the initial
I
thing.
am
But
like you.
like it just, I don't know. I would have liked to be in the group of people who knew. So maybe it's just envy. I'm sure some people they made a lot of money on this information. But did they sell? Did they sell soon enough? Did they sell when the price was whatever, or the market cap was it 80 billion at one point?
Okay, yeah. So here is my first like POV, like firsthand situation of what happened, as like a whole timeline you were just saying. So I think it launched on Friday night, and it was funny that a lot of crypto VIP, I guess, like important people are at this crypto ball, and so totally blindsided, and they have no idea. I think there was even like a guy who was asking people around at crypto ball, like, "Do you know Trump coin?" Nobody knows, and it was funny. I was actually out at a dinner with my friend, and it was I came home at 10 p.m. and I saw there was Slack messages of some 21-year-old of my colleagues tweeting about posting about it, and he posted at like 7 p.m. and it was like shortly after it launched. It was around like 6 billion still. At 10 p.m. when I was home, it was already 13 billion, I think. So I kind of like I bought a little bit of my gambling money with from my Solana wallet, like a few thousand here, and I just watching it until like I have to go to sleep, but I couldn't go to sleep, so I kept watching on my laptop, like in my bed, until like 4 a.m. My friends in Asia asked me to like buy for her because they don't know how to get it on the whole like Phantom and stuff thing. I actually like manually onboarded a few people to Phantom. It's really just like downloading extension and like create a wallet. And OTC, I can do it for you if you have friends have like one. I mean, it's not so easy to like on ramp like quickly when the things are moving in action, because like I on ramped through like my Ethereum wallets through wormhole, and the wormhole gonna tell you it's gonna take at least 15 minutes for your funds to arrive. That's pretty much still like the situation for you, like bridging over different chains, especially between EVM and Solana. And then so I was watching the whole thing until like 4 a.m. I'm seeing this starting to like dip back to like some lower level. I was like, shit, this is too stressful. I need to sell it to be able to sleep. I sold it and it made like $2,000, $3,000. It was pretty good based on like just a 6,000-7,000 capital. So I went to sleep, and then the next day I wake up and like, shit, I sold early again, as always. And I went out for a day. It's Saturday. And I went out and I saw this whole thing going up like crazy. And 12 a.m. Like Saturday evening when I was back at home, I see it was like going up. And one of my friends who was like a retired trader messaged me like saying, "Oh, it's about to be listed on Binance." And I was like, okay, there's more people coming in probably from Asia. I'm gonna try again. And so I went in with all my holding on Solana, which is something around like 80K, at like 56. And 5 minutes later, it became six figure. So it's like 100 something K. And I was like, this is insane. I need to sell it ASAP. I want to sell it right now. And it's like 10 minutes within like 5 to 10 minutes. But I was not able to sell because I was out of Solana for gas. It was insane. Also, I kept like asking my friends to send me gas fee. But like, I kind of missed the top at that point. I think it was like a 72. Yeah, I think it was here. So I missed the top. It kind of went down. So now you feel like if you sell, you kind of lost the money you could have made. I went to sleep and basically, and so on Sunday, the next day, 1 p.m., I was going out for brunch again with my friend. It kind of went up to 70 again. I was like, okay, this is at the previous top I've already seen. I'm gonna sell it. I'm not gonna be too greedy. So I sold it in the car on my like laptop screen at like 1:10 p.m. So I kind of realized like 20K gain from like 80K to 110 ish. 3 minutes later, Melania dropped, and the price went like this from 70
Wow.
to 43. Yeah, I know, it's insane. I had no idea. I was at brunch. 2 hours later, I saw everything tanked, and I realized, oh wow, I really escaped the top. It was insane. I'm not like proud about it. I think it's all gambling, but it was just insane story to tell. And then I thought I made quite some money because really, like when you look at those like analysis, people say yeah, a few people, maybe 5,000 people made a lot of money, but like 50,000 more or people made just $100 or lose money. So I was pretty proud of it until 2 days earlier. A friend told me, who actually was like basically somebody was early in DeFi. He made 10 million basically. He was buying at 300 million FDB and sold at like 30 billion. I mean, like, I don't know. I think it really takes a chance for you to choose rich, like become, wealthy only
Choose
on these
rich.
on this kind of gambling. Because you either, like, a lot of my friends who actually trade a lot of degen, they say they saw it so early and they thought it's a scam. They might throw like $100 in it. So it's like, if even if you're early, usually you throw a small amount, so you're not gonna make much. Or when you see it, like, you're convinced that it's gonna go up higher, your capital gain will not be that crazy anymore. So even if you throw big money, so I think, yeah, I don't know, yeah, I don't think it's gonna happen to me anytime soon before to like really just retire from that. But it was still wild. It was wild. Something interesting was basically after Trump launched and Melania launched, the whole sentiment like totally flipped. Like, so people were like getting bullish about the president launching a coin. If he announced anything about how he gonna use the coin to regulate or like have some actual utility or association with the policy, that would be even more insane. But quickly, Melania launched a token. People realized it's kind of like grifting, and basically a lot of people are like dumping or they are switching from Trump to Melania, and that's when all the infra providers starting to like kind of like having pressure test. I think like Phantom, Jito, people were all saying like, oh, there's like some downtime. It's not really downtime. It's just like your transaction is not going through. So like Solana was live. Solana was not down at all. So that's something to be proud of. It's just like transaction reverting basically. People are
Yeah.
clicking, but like Jito will help you to protect not sending it and cost you reverse fee basically. And I really like the how to say experience on Phantom, because they always simulate your transaction and they will tell you, okay, you're gonna get this successful, you get this much token back, or they're gonna say there's an error in the simulation. That's basically saying no, your price is gonna exceed the slippage threshold. So it's like, as long as you just like make sure you don't click when it reverts, you're not gonna lose money for reverts. So that's pretty good. But yeah, like if you look at this Trump website, basically the whole onboarding goes through like Moonshot. So like they also are pretty transparent and like they know the playbook. They give like a vesting schedule of who gets how much, and it's quite insane. Like the Trump team or the Trump wallets host 80% of the thing. Um, I mean, it's kind of nice that like that wallet has like a 3 months unlock, so you know that the 80% of Trump will not be dumped by him like in this whole weekend. So you can trade kind of like just not worrying about he's rugging. But then if you see here by now with a debit card or crypto, there's this parts.
Yeah.
I was like trying to figure out if do they have multiple on ramp, but not really. It's not like it's just icon. It's not clickable. Only here,
Yeah.
and this goes to a Moonshot like website.
It's because Moonshot supports all those. So Apple Pay, Visa, Mastercard, Venmo, USDC, and Solana.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think like after the whole like how to say frenzy, and there was analysis from Chain Analysis, and they were talking about basically that it seems like it onboarded so much like retail users. If you look at all the wallet holdings, a big long tail are holding less than $100 worth, and that's a like a signal of like normal people are trying to trade it, etc.
Wait,
And
can you quickly actually talk about these numbers?
yeah, so like apparently they're looking at like distinct addresses by wallet balance. So they're like segmenting like all the people who are trading these tokens by their wallet balance. And apparently over 1 million wallets are holding less than $100. So it's kind of like a signal of like, not just the DeFi whale or like the OG people, or but like more like retail people likely onboarded by Moonshots. And there's another like pie chart here showing just like 83% of all the people who are trading Trump or Melania are basically holding less than $1,000. And then they looked at basically the wallet age of the holders, of the token holders, and almost half of them are like newly created wallet on the day, like 0 day lifetime for the wallets. the conclusion was somewhat like saying, oh, there was a lot of new people onboarded for the token, but quickly there were a few data threads that's like flipping the narrative. So Rob from Dragonfly, together with Hasib, were like discussing this and like showing that like the charts from chain analysis kind of hyped everybody up, and then you see all these like crypto wallets and apps are getting downloaded in the App Store as the top one, including Phantom, MetaMask, and others. But I think like the disappointing part is that you see all these wallets quickly just churned after these few days of trading, and you see like on the pretty much the second day of launching, it reached a high of over 150K, and it dropped like just quickly to less than 50K, less than 20K now.
Okay, let's take this apart real quick. So what I think Moonshot in total, like I think there's a dashboard from Slice Analytics. They have like 450K or something. People who like downloaded Moonshot, then made a wallet in Moonshot, and then kind of bought the Trump token. Or I don't know if they're like specifically looking for the Trump token, but let's just say in the period of that weekend, it's like roughly 500K users. That is a shit ton of people.
Yeah.
And then if you look at, okay, like on Friday there was 100K distinct traders, on Saturday there was 150, on Sunday there's whatever, like 100, so like it peaks down again. That's still like, that's a shit ton of people. And I think, of course, they're not daily active traders, but now they are onboarded to crypto. They have a wallet through Moonshot. Of course, they're not fully onboarded. They're not using DeFi or whatever, but it's like now this is something that is on their radar. So like these are users you can more easily kind of reactivate. They're like, okay, I've done this before. Like, I don't know, it was fun to trade this Trump token or whatever. So it's like, I think of course, they're not gonna be DeFi whales on day one. And of course, the retention is going to be absolutely shit because all of these people were just interested in the Trump token. But like at the end of the day, it's like, okay, like there's now a large amount of like 500,000 people. Like that's insane. Like that's the largest single onboarding event in a day. Like I think I don't remember the polymarket election market like stuff anymore. I think it was somewhere around those ballpark numbers as well. And it's like crypto rails are enabling these kinds of things to happen. So like I think this is actually like a really large success for the industry. Like the infrastructure kind of work. We now have channels to like onboard these people within kind of minutes. Sometimes that's OTC through your friends, or like you just kind of use Moonshot or whatever. But like I think this is like, of course, like if you actually dig down into the data, it's like, of course, these were all kind of one-time users. Maybe they invested like $20 or whatever. But still, this kind of create like, at least there's a lot more people who've kind of like now used crypto rails and seen what's kind of possible.
I think there's multiple parts to this. There's definitely, like you said, they've been onboarded by the experience. It doesn't mean they're like directly like on chain and gonna land on Morpho. But it does mean that they know actually, and that they've probably have used crypto for the first time. But also in terms of data, so one of the stats was that under 1% of addresses were subsequently used for other things. But the thing is, most of those wallets, I don't actually have the percentage, were onboarded through Moonshot. And the vast majority of people don't export their private key to do other stuff than like trading meme coins afterwards, right? So I don't know. Like I would say this is a very, very rare breed of people who are already deep in the trenches in some way. The user who got newly onboarded through Moonshot, this is the experience he wants. He doesn't want to go through like Phantom and stuff, Phantom, even though it's a great wallet, it is an overall pretty shit experience to need a wallet in that sense, rather than like having an app that abstracts away all the crypto tools and just, you don't actually need to know the tech behind what you're using. What you care about is the product.
Phantom's default option of creating a wallet is actually just an email. So like they don't ask you to like write down your 18 words or whatever.
No, that's not what I mean. I like Phantom is great. I'm not criticizing Phantom. What I mean is that the average user is going to be onboarded by through apps rather than like through, hey, this tool can be used to access apps. You know, he's going to be onboarded through an all-in-one
I see.
experience that like resembles other apps you're going to find on your phone, and just is the experience you're going to be used to as a like Web2 user of consumer, I guess.
More like a Robinhood or Coinbase
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
Trade Republic or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, Phantom has the native trade function. It's
Yeah,
not
fair.
like
Yeah,
they
yeah.
don't try to offer you this experience.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
maybe like specifically Phantom is actually quite good at this, I would say. I think they're
Yeah,
like
fair.
very much product driven, like user oriented. Actually, much of the success from Solana at large, I think, can be attributed to
yeah.
the Phantom team actually absolutely being cooked. But yeah, maybe this holds up more for something like MetaMask or like the
Yeah.
I don't know, some like super security focused like wallets for Ethereum where you're just like, okay, here's like your seed phrase and that's it. Like, go and do stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think Phantom also announced like they raised a new round recently. Congrats to them. Also acquired a project called Blowfish, which was like a McAfee thing for wallets. So I think they're doing pretty well. They are a company that's like having revenue on day one. They always had the swap fee when they just started, and they were starting to like acquiring somewhat of the EVM wallets market share when they launched the the EVM wallets feature. But yeah, I think like this whole thing it's like it makes so much sense. Like it's a double sword for being such a smooth UX and hiding all the blockchain features behind unlogics, right? Like user can go to Moonshot and they don't need to know what is a Phantom wallet, what is even Solana. Probably they can just on ramp via fiat. They have like a Robinhood type of experience. And of course, these people will not go to DeFi and like trade with all the other like projects and like trying to buy ENS or like what's the Solana one? I forgot, but because like if you're really trying to hide all these like onboard friction, then they will not know all the things behind to use it. So I think this is kind of, I don't know, like I think Hasib says it's a disappointing data here. I think it's kind of makes sense, and you can't ask for. I feel like the people who onboard are probably people who might be already in the EVM ecosystem or somewhat in the crypto circle, maybe holds BTC and always been kind of paying attention, onboarded to like kind of join this like memecoin casino thing. There's definitely retail. I think once the token is listed on Binance, all the people in Asia who mostly just know about markets, don't know about the ecosystem. Like my friends, oh my god, like my graduate school classmate hit me up like, yo, and I was like, I just throw him like the ticker basically, no talk. And yeah, like my friends who I haven't talked for 10 years ask me how to buy like Trump. There's definitely ripple effect of people, normal people who at least got like mind share sniped or now aware of it. And I think it's how to say the more data here was showing that there might be a flip narrative still behind this, which is, so now if you look at all these wallets interaction with all the other application, it's pretty much only Jupiter, and there's some Solana transfer, USDC transfer. Barely 3,000 wallets had an NFT transfer or anything. So basically, yeah, no interaction with other apps. But if you look at the
generally for if you look at like EVM data, NFT and dexes are usually very different crowds. They overlap very slightly. So
yeah.
that's like, I feel like it's a to be expected given what we've observed in past using past protocols.
Does Moonshot use Jupiter in the backend? Because this seems like a 300k if you go back to the last chart, Denning.
Yeah.
I think
this looks like a much smaller subset.
No, like 300,000 almost. I don't know. Maybe I would think that Moonshot probably, like, if they can, they use Meteora directly, and then if they can't, they use Jupiter to root. Because like I can't imagine 300 people who just created a Moonshot address going to the length of like actually using Jupiter inside of Moonshot then. That would be like
No.
3/5 of all people that got onboarded if we work with the
Well,
500K number from earlier. So like that doesn't
yeah.
compute.
I don't know exactly details. I would assume they use Jupiter in the behind.
Yeah.
I am one of the people who didn't end up using Moonshot, but just like using Jupiter. But I'm already onboarded, so I'm not really a new onboarded.
Yeah, no, but this explicitly says new
Ah,
moonshot addresses
right, right,
application
right.
use. So that would be my assumption. But yeah, like I think all of this kind of misses the point. Like how did all of us get onboarded to crypto? Like we bought some shit coins or we bought some good coins and then you just hold them. And it's like of course you're not gonna like trade you're not gonna start being a day trader on your first day of interacting with crypto. So it's like these people
Yeah,
now, it's kind of like the same point that I tried making a couple months ago with Polymarket. It's like, are you an active user if you actually trade in and out of a position, or are you an active user if you just have a bet open? I think it's much more the latter way. Like if you have a bet open, it's part of your universe. You have part of your money on Coinbase, you have part of your money on Robinhood, you have some in your bank account, some on your mattress, and you also have you also now have like $100 in Trump tokens, and like maybe you'll forget about it, and like eventually you clean up your apps and then you're like, oh sure, I have like these tokens I still left there. But
yeah,
maybe some of the people will be like, oh okay, this was interesting, like I earned some money here, like let's actually look into this, like this is an interesting new kind of arena. So it's like I think like people saying this data is limited, of course this is limited, but maybe also your interpretation is limited.
yeah. I mean, I think we don't have enough use case that's like solid enough for people to be needing to use it every day after they onboard it, right? Because like,
For
I'm
context, Jupiter recently acquired a major stake in Moonshot.
oh nice.
For the first time, Search Shell Jupiter has acquired a majority stake in
Oh nice.
Moonshot. I feel like this is,
Yep, yep.
this confirms your suspicion, Boxer.
Interesting. That's the Uniswap playbook. I'm moving up the value chain. Kind of like Uniswap launching the wallet. Jupiter acquiring, I guess, an app wallet thing. Interesting. Cool.
Yeah, I think it happened a few months ago. But yeah, I think Moonshot though is not tied to just the Solana ecosystem, and they're actively still trying to onboard to other places. But based on my chatting with them, I think like they're very interested in like working with Base because there's also like meme coin energy there. But the team really thinks about to be able to provide as smooth user experience as how Solana transactions feel like. I believe, I don't know the technical detail, but I believe like on Solana, you are able to somehow have this experience of like basically, how to say, meta transaction, like you sign a signature and they can submit transaction for you, some kind of thing. On EVM, if you have to do that, you either use permit to, but not all the tokens support permit to. So you will somewhat seek some kind of feature with maybe block builder where so basically the question is how can we let user to trade without gas? So that's the question. And if you have to do that on EVM, maybe you will have to work with a block builder who has a gas sponsorship feature where they can basically send some gas fee to the user wallet before the transaction. So the user can basically trade something with a gas fee, and maybe later you will pay the gas back to the block builder. I believe that was one solution they're looking for.
I
You
mean,
could
also just ERC 4337. Like
you could do that.
if you use Paymasters.
Yes, you can like work with the smart wallets, but I think Moonshot is already adopting some kind of like preview wallet related thing, where yeah, and it will be hard for them to because they're kind of like tied with the deal, right? So it's hard for them to like basically have a whole different infra setup for the EVM doing 4337. So that's based on my chat with him. So
I mean,
yeah.
Privy is probably gonna start offering smart contract wallets as well. I'd be very surprised. And then you could kind of have like a swap, like, or I don't know. You need to sign one transaction and then they just migrate everything over to your smart wallet. If they ever want to make the switch, like technically that should be possible. It's just like you need to like multi-call all the ERC20 transfers or like all the ERC20 contracts that you have. But anyways, very technical. This is the problem with Ethereum. We're just talking about this stuff instead of building end user experiences.
I think there's another like flip of the like end of the story was so people were bearish again, saying, "Oh yeah, all these users are just speculative, come here and just doing nothing." But if you look at this charts where it's the stable coin total, I guess, market cap on Solana by centralized exchange, so you would see after the Trump coin launch, there's still actually a uptrend to the right after. How do we interpret this chart? My understanding is that people really topped up money to try to like swap on Solana to buy Trump. And after the frenzy, this coin is not gonna stay for long, or at least it's gonna go down for the short term. So people all swapped out to USDC on Solana and just hold there, probably like trying to figure out like when they're gonna maybe buy it in for other use cases, or even like buy it into Solana and hold. So there's still money flow into Solana. So that's still a net positive, as in like, there are capital got enabled by this.
What's the very gray part of this chart? Which central exchange is it? Because it seems to be the obviously dominant central exchange. Maybe Binance
I would guess Binance.
by volume.
Don't have the source of the charts. So.
Okay, because I'm also curious if it happened. Like I can't really tell from here. Like it does seem to have also increased on other central exchanges, but maybe it's only a subset, and that tells a bigger part of the story.
Yeah, honestly, this could just be some. Like how do I think the question we need to answer here is like how do centralized exchanges deal with their stablecoin deposits? Like if I have USDC on Coinbase, is there even a notion of like I have USDC on Ethereum, I have USDC on Base, I have USDC on whatever Polygon, or do you just have a USDC position? And this could just be one exchange kind of like being ready for more on-chain activity on Solana and kind of like shifting a bunch of their hot wallet stables to being on Solana because they kind of anticipate more activity over there. So like I think this specific like centralized this is like the internal workings of centralized exchanges. I think this is like I don't think this chart tells us a lot, to be honest.
I think my only knowledge on this is that obviously you want to minimize risk when you're a custodian, so you want to only hold where the token is issued, at least maybe not wrap tokens on other blockchains if you can, especially in large quantities. That's also the story for why Coinbase hasn't yet moved all of their funds to Base, because maybe later they will, and strategically they should. But it's in terms of security, the assumptions are a bit different, even though they control it and everything, and even the trust towards users. I guess if I know that it's held on Ethereum, I may be more confident than if it's held on the not even stage 1 or stage 2 rollup at this point. So I think risk plays a big role, and you always want to minimize risk when you're dealing with these amounts of money.
So you're saying this actually signals that whatever the big gray bar at the bottom is, which makes up like 60-70% of the whole thing here, we're just gonna, maybe it's Binance.
to me, it signals that it's probably USDC moving from other blockchains onto Solana. That's my main assumption, is that probably coming from Ethereum. I mean, we saw stablecoin growth like skyrocket, like plus 100% in like a week on Solana recently. And that was pretty insane. And my assumption is that it is flowing from other blockchains, because, at this point, stablecoins were not as present on Solana as they are on Ethereum and Tron. Those tend to be, I think, the top two by quite a mile. Just stablecoins, I mean. But and yeah, so for me, it is a flow of stablecoins.
Yeah, if you look at the bridge charts where you see the outflow and inflow, apparently Solana is the biggest inflow, coming mostly from Ethereum, Arbitron, and this is just one of the bridges.
I wish there was a way to get this
on the same, like Solana is losing a lot of money to Ethereum and Arbitrum as well. Like this chart is kind of it almost
it's a weird chart.
Can you do last 7 days? It should just do the net amounts. Yeah, there we go. This looks.
This isn't. Did Trump?
you
I
got-
think Trump happened here. So one sec. So Trump
yeah.
happened here. It's
And this is
definitely.
only
so, yeah.
this is just D-Bridge as well. So
So
Yeah.
higher inflow than outflow for sure. But if you look, like you
the
said,
audio listeners are gonna love this. We're looking at D Explorers, which is a website that analyzes, or like I think D-Bridge is a bridge. Is that right?
Mhm.
So
Yep.
and we're looking at a, how's this called, a Sankey diagram.
Mhm.
And then it seems like, can you hover over the Solana? Is there even numbers?
There's like a
Um,
147 million.
So,
overall, you can see
kind of around the Trump event, $147 million were deposited to Solana from Ethereum, and then kind of Arbitrum had 58 million, Base had 53 million. Yeah, these numbers are too small. If we're only looking at D-Bridge, this is not going to be relevant in the kind of large. I think this is interesting data points where, like, okay, there is a lot more kind of bridge activity from DVM to Solana, and bridge data in general is like something that's actually a huge source of alpha, but there's very few like kind of good bridge data sets. But yeah, I think in general we can just say there seems to have been a major capital inflow to Solana, and then whether this is centralized exchanges kind of driving this by flipping some switches internally. I mean, it's very likely just real users kind of like depositing money to Solana, because even the last person who's like trying to resist meme coins, it's like the president of the United States has launched a meme coin. I think it's time to like, I want to say get serious, but I don't know. Maybe get loose is the better. I think like stop being uptight and just be part of the party or whatever. But I think the general sentiment, and like even the last trader who's like, oh no, I'm like an EVM maxi, I'm only going to trade on Ethereum and Base. Now they don't have any other chance than to actually go to Solana if Trump launched this meme coin there. I think this is now I think meme coins on Base are actually going to struggle now. Or like in general, it's like very bearish for the meme coin economy on a lot of other chains. Because Solana is going to have all the liquidity. It's one monolithic chain. There's just a fucking huge ball of money that flows around there, versus like the Ethereum ecosystem where, I don't know, there's 5% is on Polygon and 5% is on Optimism and 50% on Base and the rest is on Ethereum mainnet. And it's just like a fucking like, yeah, it's just tough. It's just very tough to compete with. Solana has, maybe by accident, maybe by design, built the best meme coin casino in the world, and that's just the outcome of this.
Have you guys seen the meme over this weekend where like it was a funny thing? It was a meme format where like a guy tells a girl and say, so the current one was basically Mert from Solana saying meme coin casino, and the girl's like, oh, you're so sweet. And then the one below is Jesse from Base saying, want to get on chain? And then the girl said, hello, human resources. It was actually based on, because like Jesse did a video last week where he was trying to give a random stranger on the streets $50 to get on chain on Base. Nobody like he's like, hi, do you want to get on chain? And everyone's like, no. And all the girls are like, no. And in the end, he basically had to hey, do you want a $50? And one of the person was like, yeah, sure. And he's like, okay, this is like, global economy. You want to get on chain? It's the whole internet. And she's like, cool. And she left. It was a little bit cringe. It was a bit cringe.
That's pretty hilarious.
So just like one quick comment to close the Trump section, which is, I think like in general, people are still very optimistic about the outlook of crypto in US. And people are like, this new government will likely be very pro, everything that, gonna move things forward. Eric Trump is, Trump's oldest son, I believe, or maybe the second. Just actually tweeted like last weekend as well, where like seems like they're saying there will be no tax gain, on the crypto gain, and that will mean like I don't know exactly.
I think the wording is no capital gains tax on crypto coins that are from the US. And then like everything that's been launched outside of the US has a 30% capital gains tax. So it's basically an exemption from the capital gains tax on all crypto projects that have been launched in the US, which is complete, like that would just cement the US as like even like everyone would just go to the US to launch their coins. Like anything else would be like you're like losing 30% by default.
Yeah, I saw the Dune founder said that maybe it's time to move to US. Another thing is I wonder. So this means tax gain on if you're trading crypto, right? Like, so if you have gain on your crypto that you're
Yeah.
exempt from tax. What about the equity for working at a crypto company? I guess
I
that's
mean,
not,
it is equity. It wouldn't.
yeah.
I mean, this is. I think.
Although I feel like it might also convert a trend where a company now raise based on like, so how to say, like safe, like as in like they're gonna launch a coin and then maybe you are buying equity based on the coin rather than equity, because it sounds like way better than for tax.
I mean, you
Yeah,
always part of the deals. It's always disclosed if it's one or the other or both.
yeah, yeah. But I'm saying like, if there is this tax benefit for that, maybe people will lean towards end up going with coin.
I mean, imagine if you're just a traditional company and you want to go public. Like, wouldn't this make it very attractive to just like use the crypto rails? Like, even if you're whatever, like
Yeah, I mean,
Snowflake. I think Snowflake
yeah,
already has a share, but like if you're some like company who's not yet on the Nasdaq or on the Wall
yeah,
Street or whatever, like
yeah.
wouldn't that basically mean like if you just go through the decision tree that you always end up with like we're gonna launch a token?
Exactly. Like, imagine you're a Web2 company. Maybe you don't want to go IPO anymore. You want to go launch a token on crypto market.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
awesome.
yeah, all of this is very interesting. I
I feel
think
like actually maybe to bridge into the next topic, IPOs are kind of taking off. In are you that they're back into taking off mode where it used to be a thing from back when I wasn't around. That was the main driver back in 2017, I want to say.
I think you want to say ICOs.
You mean ICO, not
Oh,
IPO.
sorry, I mean ICOs. My bad. Yeah, my bad.
All good.
Yeah.
But yeah, so ICOs have recently, I think, been a hot topic, and one of those driver has been a protocol called Echo, um, and it's an interesting attempt at essentially giving back share of ICOs towards individual users rather than like venture funds. And we've seen several rounds, um, both having the same price for like VCs as well as subsequently for an ICO on Echo, where quite a few thousand people participated. And I think that's super cool. It is maybe more in line with parts of crypto. I think it is very it feels fair, I guess, if everyone has a shot at getting into the ICO. Of course, as a venture fund, you do have several advantages as well, which are different, where you can help the companies in several ways. For the ICOs, where it's individuals, maybe you can have lend some calls and stuff like this. So it is different, a different trade-off when you're raising, like where you go. But I think having a bit of both is probably a very interesting kind of new thing that we're seeing, and yeah, I'm into it.
Yeah, Echo apparently, I mean, I guess like it kind of bring back the ICO, or I guess it's kind of enabled the permissionless participants for people to get into access into private equity, which is usually not the thing that anybody can access. You usually have to be somebody who is either in the venture capital world, or you're a kind of made it kind of like founder, you're in their network, people talk about things and you get access to people who are like angeling, etc. But I think Echo is by Kobe, right? He was like a big figure, I guess, like character in 2022 ish around
I mean,
era.
he's one of the biggest kind of
Yeah, he still is.
crypto, Bitcoin, DeFi influencers. I think he's been around since like 2015 or whatever.
Right.
And like he's like one of the like he never became the main character, so he survived.
Right.
So,
Well, I mean, the Up Only podcast was heavily funded by, like, sponsored by FTX the whole time. And
right.
I was
Right.
watching one of the episode, which was like a 3-hour episode about how Kobe, get into crypto. It was really interesting, and you can learn a lot about him and like thinkings from that. And it was like they were promoting FTX app. Honestly, the app looks nice. Like, yeah, it looks like a moonshot in the back in the past.
Yeah.
Um, I've heard that Kobe never had made more investment after Bitcoin that he got in 2012 or 13. I'm not sure if that's true. And some people say he's a millionaire, a billionaire. I don't know none of that if they're true or not. Speaking of the Echo data, though, we have it on Dune because it's launched on Base. A small win for the EVM community, I guess. So C-Launch had this dashboards about Echo to list out basically all the money that raised and like active investors, etc. This was the first tweet came out, and they mentioned like Mega East was already basically the biggest round on Echo, raised the $10 million. I believe that was around December last year. They then also incorporated more data. I believe like they had a V2 and as well. The dashboard now look like the total amount raised through Echo is around like $76 million. There's like 6,300 ish unique investor, I guess, addresses that has participated in all these. There's over 200 deals that has raised so far. This is a June dashboard. The charts looks like up to the right pretty much. So I believe, yeah. And the number one deal looks like this one raised 9.2 based on onchain data, around 3,000 investor. So I believe matching the stats, this is probably the Mega East deal. I'm curious how you find that information about the deal, though. By the way, I wonder if
so it's an off-chain API.
I see.
So you have to probably reach to the team and ask them. But I did look into this and try to make a dashboard on it, and eventually got stuck. So yeah, I wasn't satisfied with publishing stuff without fully labeled.
Well, apparently,
public or no?
As far as I know, no. But I mean, I'm sure they're open to helping out if reached out, and if it's for public goods purposes. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't reached out to them, but I'm sure it would be really cool to have this data set available publicly somewhere, whether that's on Dune for other analysts to use or somewhere else, wherever, it doesn't matter. But
I mean, yeah, just make a public API. Like that's what Polymarket did, and now there's a bunch of different data websites that all have Polymarket data. That works fairly well.
Yeah, I wonder how you can like decode any information on chain. I mean, apparently, if I put that address on base scan, it says Echo Mega ETH. But I guess this is off. This is
it's a hash.
I think there is this DOUUID.
Yeah, and that's the. But that's the identifier. But it might just be random hash rather than a hash that.
Or maybe somebody just manually tagged this one address.
Yeah, looks like it. Yeah, looks like it. Yeah. All the others don't really.
Or like Mega ETH could have even said that this is ours. But why is this interesting? Why are we excited about the kind of rise of ICOs or whatever? Can anybody explain what Echo even does in like the basic terms?
Well, I mean, I think it's pretty exciting, right? Like, usually, okay, there's a lot of like big angel investors in the space already, and they're all like very, established figures. Say Balaji, who is in everyone's deal. I think I know like people like Linda Xie or Hasu. People would love them to be in their angel round and like give advice and stuff. But like you and us will have much less, access to all these like good deals or projects that can be promising. I think it's also kind of like a hierarchy structure where if you are a small figure, like if you have like a few thousand followers, some people would be like, hey, there's this deal. Do you want to participate? But it's usually probably not the best deal. But with Echo, anybody can participate as long as there's like cap room for you, you can, I think it's a fair access for anybody, and it's like no doesn't exist in usual like the equity or like Silicon Valley scene.
Yeah, from my understanding, Echo works in a way where it's kind of like small venture funds, and you can choose to have it published on your like venture funds board, and anyone can partake if they are part of the I don't know how they call it, groups or funds or whatever. Um, and it's usually, of course, smaller, much smaller size in terms of individual tickets, especially compared to venture funding. But it is allowing for retail to partake into something that right now some people are saying is unfair for VCs to have a discounted price, which I think is fair, but also it's worth mentioning that VCs usually also work with the team and help them in various ways where retail doesn't necessarily in the same in similar ways. But then you have calls, so retail can help in that sense. They can also if they actually have a stake, maybe they get more involved and they're gonna yap more about it. So it's just different dynamics, but I think they're interesting to observe, and it's going to be hard to quantify exactly like how much that shifts the actual metas, or if this stays around, if this grows in terms of like share allocated to like retail through Echo, whatever other protocols. I would love to see like what is the percentage over time on average, per month. Does that evolve? Does that go up, or is that just a fad that's going to stop at some point?
Like the percentage of what?
Of like the money raised through Echo relative to the total raised.
Yeah.
Or
I see. Are you saying like is Echo gonna have an impact on the VC funding market in Web3 overall? And like
I don't
how? I
I
mean,
don't think
currently
it's
it's
gonna
probably like
be.
0.1,
Oh yeah,
0.0001.
yeah.
Like
No.
there's no
I don't think it
impact.
impacts. I don't think it impacts VCs. I just think it's good for like for retail to have access to those deals, and ideally retail. Given a lot of people who were complaining before, that seems to signal they would be into partaking into those deals. So I would assume this to at least stay constant, and if not grow. Right now, Echo stats are on on an uptrend, but it's still too early to to extrapolate into a longer term trend. I'm just curious to see how where we go from here.
And also, I mean, better access for retail is just one side of the market. It's also definitely easier for the founders to get quick cash ramp up if they just needed like how to say to how to say ramp up their runway. Usually, founders wants to be very tight with their cap table. They want to do strategic round with people who have influence or KOL who can actually tweet for them, but sometimes maybe they need some ramp up the cash. Another good thing I've seen is basically the fee is seemsly fairly low or fairly transparent. I don't know if it's like a Kobe give back to the community thing, but I believe that like Dolby, you shared that the only fee is when I guess the deal goes public or somewhat like liquid or
Yeah, so it's 5% of profits. So whenever those groups, I'm not exactly sure because I guess it's too early to even determine or even matter at this point. But when it starts to go liquid, 5% of profits go back to Echo, and that way it's I would say it's a non-predatory kind of percentage where they Echo only wins if people win. They're not taking a cut from the get go, which I think is super cool.
So wait, just to put this into concrete terms, if there was 10 million raised for Mega ETH at a whatever 2 billion valuation, eventually Mega ETH exits for let's say 10 billion. That would be a 5x. So Echo then takes there's 10 million raised, so there's a 50 million exit, and then 5% of that, or like I guess of 40 million of the delta between the
Yeah,
amount raised and okay, so yeah,
yeah,
okay,
5% of the
like
delta is
yeah.
think about the other option. If you don't have Echo, usually like I if I go become an angel investor and it become public, it's 30% tax gain, and compared to 5%.
No, but you would still pay cap. You
Yeah.
would
Yeah,
still
of
pay
course.
taxes on this. This is
Yeah,
just another
sure.
investment.
Yeah, sure. But like they are somewhat serving as a market, as like the
Oh no. I think the business model is absolutely like this is as aligned as you can be. I think there's been a ton of launch pads which are like, okay, we're gonna charge you whatever 50K initially, and then we don't fucking care how your token does. So this is kind of like this is a good alignment of everyone is
Yeah.
aligned. This is very this is very
Yeah.
nice.
recently I went through like some kind of basically process on Angel List. So
Mhm.
one of my friends started a project, so I wanted to invest, and it has 2.5% fee upfront. So it's like if I
Mm.
invest 20K, I need to pay $500 already upfront of like whatever, and this is gone, right? So I think Echo's fee sounds pretty generous. Yeah.
Yeah, it also like this incentivizes them to keep a tight ship on their platform because they don't want to waste a bunch of resources or like stuff on just like having I don't know these like launchpads in crypto were always like a big red flag. Like if any project launched from a launchpad, it was always like almost always like the worst kind of like I don't know projects like the 122nd Uniswap v2 fork on the 30th EVM fork. Sure, we need this, and this definitely needs the token. Um, I think this seems very interesting. I'm very interested in what kind of like future deal flow is going to be on Echo. I should actually just sign up myself. I think this is like a super interesting area. And democratizing the access to deal flow in crypto seems like a thing that's kind of long overdue because we're always talking about like, oh sure, this is bottoms up and like everyone has the same rights and everything's kind of free, and then you get like these huge kind of KOL rounds. You get the VCs who like I mean the VCs dump on you, but whether that narrative is true or not, but like I literally like I think VCs have a valuable place in the space. But I think this is just like from a feelings perspective or from a kind of narrative perspective, this kind of breaks this chain or like this logic, right? Where it's like, oh, okay, retail doesn't have early access to these deals, but let retail find out themselves how fucking hard it is to actually make these investments and to like basically lose 95% of your investments, like which just slowly grind to zero and like the companies go bankrupt. So it's just kind of like democratizing the access to these VC rounds, which I think in the end is probably a good thing. I think there's some caveat here where in the US, if you want to participate in Echo, you need to be an accredited investor, which is basically like that kind of breaks the whole like this is really stupid. Or like it's not really stupid. It's just like the US laws around this are relatively stupid, but on the rest of the world, because then you're almost like you need to be a professional again to be able to partake in echo rounds, which is kind of like okay, this doesn't help that much because not that many people are accredited investors. But in the rest of the world, you can partake in echo however you want, and you can get into the mega ETH whatever series A B whatever they raised, at the same price as all of these VCs by bundling your capital with a bunch of other degens, and that's beautiful.
Yeah, I agree. I think I don't know. I'm curious to see where we go from here. I looked into on-chain events, and I think there's actually a bit more data to dig into. Like the is US is a Boolean tag, for example, that we can look into. I did look into it. Like you can actually tell in terms of investors and in terms of capital which portion is located in the US. It wasn't an insane value add to the point where it made sense to write a whole dashboard. But I thought it was interesting, and maybe once, if no one else does, like land my hands on some API where I have like all the metadata, like maybe I can make some dashboard with a bit more context on Echo and seeing the deals and tracking what is going on there with a closer eye.
I think maybe the opposite extreme can go for Echo is, the comeback of ITO. Like basically if the project's trying to list and trying to raise money on Echo become shit, like become just like low quality, then that's basically the bad outcome of this scenario. And I guess like it might depends on if Echo has a listing whitelisting or filtering?
No, I think the Echo team itself is heavily incentivized through their 5% profit share to just like let somewhat good projects into this thing, right?
Yeah.
And then I think there's something like groups, like there needs to be one person inside of Echo who kind of leads a group of other investors who like leads the degens, and that person is supposed to do the actual due diligence. So like that kind of like filters a lot of like that already filters a lot of bullshit, right? But it's like on a launchpad, everyone, like literally anyone could have invested into something. And on Echo, there's like 2 levels of creation at least. I don't know how strict the Echo team is. I would think probably at the beginning they're more strict. Like as time goes on, they get less strict. And then they just kind of offboard that responsibility to the group leaders. But if the group leaders do their job right, then they're basically acting like VC partners, right? They're just like they take calls, or like they look at documentation, or like they look at whatever materials are available for these projects. And yeah, we should all definitely sign up for Echo and talk about it again. Kind of, we're all kind of like looking in from the outside versus someone who's actually just used Echo. But yeah, I think those like 2 levels of creation that currently exist, and then I guess the third level is like the participants of Echo themselves, but those are not as heavily kind of as like there's no, I think anyone can just sign up for Echo, so it's not like a select group of people. So yeah, that's 2 cents on the creation, and like that's why I think it won't degrade into like 2017 DentaCoin style ICOs.
Yeah, well, it's always the initial wave that has a high percentage of trash, where it gets washed off over time, and the better projects stand out more and more in relative market share. So I think I don't think it goes as crazy as the first wave, but we'll probably see some craziness if it does keep trending up.
I mean, also in combination with all the other factors of like yeah, maybe the accredited investor rule gets overturned by Trump as well. Then it could really fly.
Yeah.
Because then it suddenly actually becomes like if you get the 0% crypto capital gains whatever thing, then it's like, okay, I want to build like a car wash thing, and like I'm gonna launch a token which is an equity. Like, I mean, the SEC is not gonna like that, but and you're basically launching a security. I don't know how all of this stuff works. But yeah, it could become interesting if we see more of an open rule set in the US. But yeah, I think so much for Echo, so much for this episode. This has been very fun. Just yapping about the current state of the markets.
I think there's also an interesting topic we should talk about, but maybe to elaborate on another episode, which is the current like reflection or like debates about Ethereum's culture. Sparkled by all these like Solana hype and the mainstreams. Lobbying with the politics parties, and people were criticizing that Vitalik and pretty much all the other leadership on EF is not doing enough, for the price. Again, I mean, this thing comes back every cycle, but I think it's being particularly kind of maybe not concerning, but like a FUD, FUD, for Ethereum for this cycle, because Bitcoin break 100K. Solana was also almost like, went up really like 270 or something, but Ethereum being not performing well. And the EF has to sell ETH all the time for paying the salary. But people are complaining about like, why don't you do OTC? Why are you creating this kind of FUD by just like explicitly, like transparently selling from your wallets, etc. People were criticizing Aya, who is the director of EF, publicly saying that, oh, I don't care about making money, or like I don't aim to make Ethereum a good asset. Because I mean, really, the EF people cares primarily, when they started the whole thing, about like technology and the innovation and the things you can build on top of it. It's the first chain that had the programming ability, and so now people are attacking them. And Vitalik went on like wartime mode and now become a milady and just posting milady all the time. And there's a whole like milady domination thing going on my timeline as well. I think Dolby, you also bought a milady. I was like, there's this famous copy pasta where like you don't need to buy a milady, you just need to steal one from somebody. But Dolby said he wants to be financially involved. So I respect.
Well, you're leaking DMs, I guess. Yeah. Yeah, I did buy my lady on hilldobby.eth, so it should be fairly public. But yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting concept, Milady, where it has evolved into being one of the main NFTs in terms of culture, alongside maybe punks, pudgy penguins. I would cite those three right now as like having mindshare above the rest. Um, so yeah, being part of this industry, I think NFTs are bound to eventually make some kind of comeback, and they're interesting projects. And being financially involved usually gets me interested more and into researching and actually looking into what's happening. So it is both because I think they're interesting projects, but also because I want to be more interested into constantly looking into what's going on and analyzing and pushing myself further than was trading from a few years back and actually going back when maybe things trend up eventually, hopefully.
I think it's about time we wrap up. This has been a fantastic conversation. I think yapping between the three of us always turns out very interesting. It's not quite as forced as we have a guest, so maybe we should do this more often again. But we'll see about that. Any last comments you guys want to leave the audience with?
I'm excited for new shifts into metas, and this seems like one of them. So let's see how it turns out for the rest of the year and how this evolves. Yeah, that's as my analyst take.
Yeah, I see. This actually reminds me on the evening of like when the whole Trump thing happened on Sunday. I tweeted like it's a new dawn, and then like, oh my god, like the president of the United States has just launched a meme coin. Like, what the fuck is happening? This is such a big signal. And then like I think 4 hours later, the Melania coin drops, and I'm like, oh yeah, this was a short day. It's like you get like all of this excitement, and it just broke down again. I was like, what the fuck is even happening? So yeah, fun times. I think we're gonna have a lot of fun this year. There's so many cool, like interesting things happening. We don't know yet if they're going to be cool or not. But yeah, you've listened to the Index podcast. Yeah, see you all in 2 weeks. Bye bye. Crypto day wizards, come join us for the parade. From Bitcoin ETF to Solana memecoin trade, uncovering public secrets in the blockchain shade. Bad chiller, cherry picking liar. We call them out and set chart climb on fire.